Hello, my name is Clayton Cox, and today I'm going to be discussing computers from 1946 to the modern era. The origins of the modern computer in the United States was first done in Philadelphia with the Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer, otherwise known as the ENIAC. It weighed 30 tons and required 170,000 watts of power, along with multiple people to operate. It was used by the U.S. Army for ballistic studies and thermonuclear weapon simulations developed off of Max Newman's Colossus. The computer industry had a couple key growth factors throughout the years. The development of electronic hardware. Previous computers were done were powered using vacuum tubes, similar to wearing guitar amps, which made them very heavy and bulky and not able to be moved. The development of the transistor in Silicon Valley. Developed of the LED diodes that allowed for a screen to be displayed for modern computers of today. Development of the internet by NASA and the C programming language, which made it easier to program computers to have its own personal stored memory, and for computer programs to be able to program specific programs into it. Development was really relied upon the U.S. Department of Defense's need to assess ballistics and nuclear warhead capabilities of the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Multiple phases of growth that really drove the development of computers in the United States. Computers really began initially at universities and military research labs to help fight the Cold War. Post-World War II, the Soviets were developing nuclear weapons, and the United States was on a path to surpass them with the Manhattan Project that was assisted with modern computers. We graduated from punch cards to current electronically stored programs computers that used internal memory. The first instance of this would be the Manchester Baby. Instead of being able to punch cards, we typed out code into a screen and stored it into memory to have stored programs. With the advent of this, university students began to develop their own personal computing companies, and you begin to see the first development of new operating systems such as Linux and Microsoft Windows, as well as Apple's OS system. Then, eventually, modern computers begin to be incorporated into the modern working environment with companies such as IBM. E-commerce began to develop, and now we are seeing the field progress into quantum-based and high-speed distributed computing, along with cloud-based computing. Currently, there are 3 or 4 major players within the computer field, along with a lot of minor contributors. But as far as computer hardware is concerned, a couple of major corporations that are involved are International Business Machines, or known as IBM. It's one of the original companies that first developed machinery for computers that made it accessible by the current workforce, and as well as providing current Intel processors and other hardware to be placed into modern personal computers. HP, or Hewlett-Packard, as it is known in the past, was one of the original computer companies that utilized IBM software to be able to be delivered to corporations. The old Apple symbol with the apple here is again another personal computer company that eventually became a tech giant with the modern Apple company that is today. The Linux system, or operating system, Microsoft and Dell, or all major corporations that were started during and developed computers during the modern era. Individual fortunes made by people such as Michael Dell, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak from Apple, Bill Gates, and Paul Allen from Microsoft. The size of the current tech sector is roughly $1.6 trillion and represents 9.2% of the U.S. economy. Again, heavy focus in e-commerce, security and intelligence for the Department of Defense. Artificial intelligence is relatively new, and currently new as well as social networking and professional networking through internet sites. Currently, the computer sector employs around roughly 11.5 million people. 7.2% of the workforce in the United States is in tech. This tree map shows the distribution of tech growth in the year of 2016, with the largest growth occurring in the IT services and custom software services, and the smallest growth being occurring in software. We saw a little bit of growth in tech manufacturing and telecommunications, but predominantly in IT services. Here's a geographic dispersion of where the major tech employments occurred in the United States in 2017, with the largest growth of tech employment occurring in the New York City area and Boston, as well as San Francisco and LA. Again, here's a map showing the net tech employment gains in 2017, with the largest gains in 2017 occurring in the state of California, followed closely behind in the state of Texas and Dallas. Again, from which the bubble diagram on the right shows where most of the jobs in these states were gained. The largest being now in software and web developers, as e-commerce and web apps become more popular. Predominantly, the U.S. is a major player in the world economy when it comes to tech. However, since the Y2K to the modern era, the U.S. Has dropped off as a percentage of the total exports. This is probably and most likely caused due to the IP involvement of the Chinese and the Russians and infiltration into current modern tech systems and IP theft. As China's become more predominant over the next few years, the United States is going to continue backing off its current development and the export of tech to be able to preserve its status in the current global environment. Here are the references that I used for this presentation, and thank you for listening.